Google thinks the Earth is round, so that will cause distances of cities, especially at long distances, to be wrong. Google also uses the Mercator map, one of the most blatantly inaccurate maps ever drawn. Greenland on that map appears 13 times larger than its square mileage. The equator is moved downwards, and the northern hemisphere is drawn almost twice as large as its actual size. Countries that are anywhere from 10 to 50% of the size of other countries are drawn much larger. The excuse given was, it's hard to turn a ball into a flat map. But that doesn't explain why the northern hemisphere was so exaggerated, nor does it explain why Mercator chose to shrink some countries while he greatly exaggerated the size of his European employers. At a very minimum, the map is racialist. There is other map options too. Google could be using the Peters projection, which is far more accurate because at least Peters tried to draw the countries more true to their size. Why in 2016 does Google still use this ridiculous map? So is there a map that accurately shows the size of countries? Of course there is. This map is called the azimuth equidistant map. This map projects the countries on a circle, each one being the correct distance in relation to the center point, the North Pole. The Egyptians use this map for stellar maps. It matched the stars. They will try and tell you that the southern hemisphere is exaggerated, but is this true? No. If you look at the size of Africa and South America, they seem to be almost precisely drawn the same size as their square footage. Also, if it is inaccurate, then why do many modern star chart planispheres use the polar azimuthal equidistant projection? In the case of radio, this projection allows for directional antenna aiming, especially in the case of HF communications. So the answer here is, it is used because it is the most accurate map we have. This is why it is the UN flag logo, and this is why flat earthers use it. Round earthers will argue that Australia is not in the right position, but it is. This is why you can calculate sunsets 10,000 kilometers away from Australia, and this is why the sun almost never appears south of Australia, and why the azimuthal equidistant map works for all telecommunications and projections.
The sun is directly overhead, the refraction is near zero, but you still can't say where the sun actually is. As the sun travels towards the west, the atmosphere creates an image of it for every eye. So anyone who looks at the sun from the same angle as you, but from a different city, will see the apparent sun in a different position. But no one can see the sun in its real position. So if you try to triangulate the sun, you will never get the exact distance. This is like trying to triangulate a rainbow.
But as the sun approaches this vanishing point, the light begins to distort and refract, making it appear to sink below the horizon. In some parts of the Earth, though, this refraction does not take place.
Into its own reflection. It's basically going to disappear into its own reflection. And I put another arrow here to show you where that actual horizon line is. It is there. So what you're actually seeing is the sun is shrinking into its own reflection. And nobody realizes this. Nobody sees this. And I used the zoom tool, and I zoomed in on it, and I wanted to give you a close-up view and a slow-motion view. It's going to do an illusion. It's going to deceive you because it is going to disappear, but it's going to disappear into the atmosphere. Just like some of my boats that I show that get out to a certain point in the horizon, it disappears back into that mirage, that glass area, that mirroring area, that area that mirrors the sky. And how, where below this, you can see the visible waterline, but up above, or above that waterline, you can tell that that is a mirroring of the sky. And this is mirrored from the top to the bottom. If you split that in half, it's just mirroring the sun slowly fading away. Now, I am not a professional photographer, but I think that my videos is going to prove to your own eyes what actually happens to the sun. It is a deception.
Endless summer, last